Owen, and I'm the Chief Executive of Newport City Council, and to my right is Mr Gareth Price, the Council's Monitoring Officer. So first I'd like to declare the annual meeting of the City Council open. Please note that today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the Council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally, the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version will be available on the Council website 24 hours after the meeting. Would members please use their microphones to contribute to the meeting, and please remember not to get too close to the microphone and also to switch off the microphone when you have finished. And colleagues joining us virtually, please ensure that microphones are muted when not speaking. So if we move straight towards item 3 on the agenda of the Annual General Meeting, can I invite nominations for the appointment of the presiding member, please? Councillor Mudd.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I'd like to nominate Councillor Paul Cochrane.
Is there a seconder? Are there any further nominations, please? Okay, are there any declarations of interest before we vote? So now we move to the vote. Would all those in favour please show? Okay, so I think that vote is carried. Congratulations, Councillor Cochrane. So now I invite you to take over as chair for the rest of the meeting. Diolch yn fawr.
Normally green, isn't it, when it's on? Right. Well, thank you very much for the appointment. First item is the Gareth Price will report any apologies received.
Councillor Mayor, Mr Mayor, he's the only apology we've received.
I've moved to being a mayor now. You said we were going to do this, didn't you, Mr Mayor? Mr Mayor. Right. I have no announcements at the moment, or in this meeting. Will someone move the appointment of the Council's Deputy Presiding Member? Councillor Mudd.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd like to nominate Councillor Trevor Watkins.
Is there a seconder to that? Are there any further nominations? Are there any declarations of interest before we vote? Councillor Watkins? Right. Would all those in favour please show? I think that's overwhelming. That's carried. Congratulations, Councillor Watkins. Will someone move, the next one is the appointment of leader. Will someone move the appointment of leader of the council?
Can I please nominate Councillor Jane Mudd as leader of the council?
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. I'll second it.
Oh, right. Don't fight over it. Are there any declarations of interest before we vote? Councillor Mudd, you've got a declaration of interest. Right. Okay. Would all those in favour please show? Are there any against? I don't know whether he was against it or not then. Right. Congratulations, Leader. Do you wish to announce your Cabinet?
Thank you very much for that, and thank you, colleagues, for putting your confidence and trust in me once again. I do appreciate that. The Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Strategic Investment, myself, the Leader. Cabinet Member for Education and Early Years and Deputy Leader, Councillor Deb Davis. Cabinet Member for Community Wellbeing, Councillor Deb Harvey. Cabinet Member for Strategic Planning, Regulation and Housing and Group Business Manager, Councillor James Clark. Cabinet Member for Social Services, Councillor Jason Hughes and Councillor Stephen Marshall. Cabinet Member for Organisational Transformation, Councillor Dimitri Batruni. Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Biodiversity, Councillor Yvonne Forsey. Cabinet Member for Infrastructure and Assets, Councillor Laura Lacey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mudd. Councillor Evans, do you wish to announce your shadow appointments as Leader of the largest opposition group?
Thank you, Chair. We will announce shadow portfolios at a later date, but I will declare an interest as Leader of the Opposition for the record. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Leader, would you like to wish to introduce the new Labour councillors and the independent members?
Thank you very much, Chair. It gives me absolute delight to introduce to you today, as the Chair of the Council, and to colleagues here, the newly elected members. So, firstly, Councillor Pat Druitt. Councillor Claire Baker-Westhead.
Well done, Claire.
Councillor Stephen Cox.
Well done, Stephen.
Councillor Rhian Howells.
Well done, Rhian.
Councillor Beverley Perkins.
Well done, Beverley.
Councillor Dimitri Batruni.
Well done, Dimitri.
Councillor Matthew Pym.
Well done, Matthew.
Councillor Paul Bright.
Well done, Paul.
Councillor Alan Screen.
Well done, Alan.
Councillor John Reynolds.
Well done, John.
Councillor Emma Stowell-Corton.
Well done, Emma.
Councillor Tim Harvey.
Well done, Tim.
Councillor Alex Pym.
Well done, Alex.
Councillor Saeed Adan.
Well done, Saeed.
Councillor Debbie Jenkins.
Well done, Debbie.
Councillor John Harris.
Well done, John.
Councillor Beverley Davis.
Well done, Beverley.
And, Chair, if I may, I'd also like to introduce to you Newport City Council's first ever Green Party councillor, Councillor Lauren James.
Well done, Lauren.
Thank you.
Councillor Evans. Councillor Matthew Evans, would you like to introduce the new members of your group?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to welcome and introduce you to Councillor Chris Reeks from Rogerstone.
Well done, Chris. Right. The Leader of the Council to move the appointments of the chairs of... Sorry? No. Yeah. Councillor Morris, do you want to introduce? But I think they're already... Oh, they're new members, sorry. Apologies for that. Well done, Mark.
Councillor Andrew Sterry on my left.
Well done, Mark.
And just sat slightly away from us, but very much with us, Councillor James Peterson.
Well done, James. Right, sorry about that. There will be some hitches. It's new, isn't it? Right. Appointments of chairs of committee. The Leader, can you move the appointments of the Chair of Planning?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Councillor Mark Spencer as the Chair of Planning Committee.
Okay. Is there a second to that? Okay. All agree? Vote. Thank you. Well done, Mark. The Chair of Licensing Committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Councillor Kate Thomas as the Chair of Licensing Committee.
Can we have a vote then? All agree? Thank you very much. Well done, Kate. Sorry? Yeah. The Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee, the leader will move the appointments.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that Councillor Phil Howrine is appointed to the Chair.
Seconded. Right, okay. Are there any further nominations? Are there any declarations of interest before we vote? Phil, okay. Right, can we vote on that then, please? Thank you very much. The next one then, the leader of the Council to move the appointment of Performance and Scrutiny Committee partnerships.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to nominate Councillor David Mayer.
Can I please second that?
But he's not here to declare an interest. I don't know whether he's on. No. All agree that? Thank you. Thank you. Oops. Right. Leader Opposition to move the appointment of Chair of Performance Scrutiny People.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Councillor Will Routley.
Mr. Presiding Officer, can I declare an interest in that vote, please?
Yeah. Is there a seconder first?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Any other further
Presiding Officer.
nominations? No. You've mentioned about declaring interest, so we'll move straight to the vote. All agree with that? Thank you. The appointment is duly carried. Councillor Whitehead to move the appointment of Chair of Performance Scrutiny, Place and Corporate.
Thank you, Chair. Albeit this will be a rotated post with, I believe, the Liz Wherry Ward Independent Group, and our nominee is Councillor Janet Cleverly.
Okay. Is the proposal seconded? Okay. Are there other further nominations? No.
Thank you, Chair.
Right. All agree with the vote? No. The appointment is duly carried. The Leader of the Opposition to move the appointment of Chair of Democratic Services Committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Councillor David Fairweather.
Yeah. Is it seconded? Right. Any declare an interest in the vote?
Declare an interest,
Right.
Mr. President Officer.
Thank you, David. Right. We move then to the vote. All agree? The vote, please. Right. The appointment is duly carried. Congratulations to you all on your appointments. The appointments to committees, we will give effect to the appointments of the political groups. The leader of the council, the leader will then, the appointment of members of the committee will pass to the proper officer and record in the minutes. This does not need to have a vote on this one. Okay? The leader of the opposition may wish to announce the appointments of your group. It's the same principle then.
It'll be the same. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. May I assume that the leader of the other groups will pass the appointments, that is your group, and the Kevin's group as well, to the proper officer?
Yeah,
Okay.
as we were, Mr. Mayor. Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Kevin?
I'll
just
be doing
confirm
that,
that,
Chair,
okay.
here as we were, yeah.
Right, okay then. May I move that the leader of the various groups will then pass the appointments of members to the external bodies to the proper officer and record in the minutes to the external groups. Okay. Right, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 9, is the member scheme of allowances. The leader to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. The Council is required to adopt and publish a scheme of allowances for members for the current municipal year based on the salaries prescribed by the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales. The IRP is the statutory body set up by Welsh Government to determine the appropriate level of remuneration paid to elected members in Wales. The IRP published its annual report in February of this year, but the recommendations for 22-23 did not take effect until after the local elections. Therefore, the Council now needs to formally adopt these recommendations and approve the allowances for 22-23. The IRP has determined that the basic annual salaries for elected members for 22-23 should be rebased at £16,800 to take account of inflationary increases over the past few years and to ensure that remuneration is linked to average salary levels. Senior salaries are also increased and reset in line with the relevant comparators. There is no discretion regarding the amount of salaries as they are fixed by the IRP. The increases in basic salaries will take effect from the 9th of May 2022. The additional remuneration for senior salaries will be payable as from today, following the earlier appointments. The names of the relevant senior salary holders will be added to the schedule before it is published. Chair, I move that Council approves and adopts the members' schedule of remuneration for 22-23 as set out in Appendix 1 to the report.
Yeah. Is there a seconder to that?
I'll second that. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you, Councillor Evans. Will all those in favour please show? Are there any against? Right, the motion is carried and the allowances scheme is duly adopted. Move on to item 10, Officer Scheme of Delegation. Leader to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. The Council's constitution includes an extensive scheme of delegation to the Chief Executive, Strategic Directors and Heads of Service, who are authorised to take operational decisions and discharge specific statutory functions on behalf of the Council. The Officer Scheme of Delegation has been updated periodically to reflect changes in the senior management structure and reallocation of roles and responsibilities. It was last updated in October 2020, in line with recommendations from the Democratic Services Committee. Since that time, Council has agreed a new senior management structure with new strategic directors and heads of service. That senior management restructure has now been implemented, and there have been significant changes in the roles and responsibilities and realignment of services. Therefore, it is necessary to change the Officer Scheme of Delegation to reflect these management changes. The amended Scheme of Delegation is attached to the report, and once adopted, it will be included at Appendix 3 to the new Constitution. There are no substantive changes to the previous Scheme of Delegation, but responsibility has been transferred, where appropriate, to the new Head of Service, and minor amendments have been made to reflect changes in legislation and updated job titles. Chair, I move that the amended Scheme of Officer Delegation is approved and adopted by Council.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Will all those in favour please show? Are there any against? Right, over to you again, Leader. It's the standing orders and arrangements for multi-location of meetings.
Thank you, Chair. Sections 46 and 47 of the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021 impose a statutory duty on all Welsh local authorities to make and publish arrangements for hybrid or multi-location meetings and for the broadcasting of these meetings. As colleagues are aware, we have been operating fully remote meetings throughout the COVID lockdown period. And this is the first time that most of us have been able to meet in person in this chamber for the past 2 years. Until now, remote meetings have been a matter of necessity, but from now on, participating remotely in council will be a matter of personal choice. The removal of all COVID restrictions means that the council can now introduce arrangements for hybrid or multi-location meetings where elected members and other participants have a choice about joining remotely or attending in person. Also, as part of the council's strategic recovery aims, a new working model has been agreed for both elected members and council staff, based on flexible working arrangements. An integral part of this new working model is the use of technology and the freedom to participate remotely in council meetings. These arrangements will also help to improve diversity and transparency within local government. The protocol attached to this report sets out how the Council intends to discharge its statutory duties under Sections 46 and 47 of the 2021 Act in relation to the broadcasting of meetings and the convening of meetings involving participants in multiple local locations. The rules and procedures set out in Section 3 of the document will constitute the mandatory core requirements for compliance with the legislative framework. As such, they will form part of the Council's published constitution and will need to be read in conjunction with the Council's standing orders relating to the conduct of meetings. Section 4 sets out the Council's wider multi-location meetings policy, which reflects the general legislative principles in Section 3, while setting out more detailed practices and procedures to ensure that multi-location meetings work effectively, efficiently and accountably. This non-statutory policy will be subject to periodic oversight and review by the Democratic Services Committee and should be considered in conjunction with the Council's wider public participation and engagement strategy. The Council's standing orders have also been updated and amended to reflect the legislation and the new arrangements for the appointment of a presiding member to chair Council meetings instead of the Mayor. The proposed arrangements and policy for the conduct of multi-location meetings are attached to this report, together with updated standing orders. Once they are approved and adopted, they will then be published as part of the revised constitution. Chair, I move that Council approves and adopts the amended standing orders and arrangements for multi-location meeting.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder?
Chair, very happy to second that. Thank you.
All right. Would all those in favour please show? Are there any against? The motion is carried and amended as standing orders arrangements are duly approved and adopted. Right, over to you again, Leader. Participation strategy and petition scheme.
Thank you, Chair. This Council report is the final step in the Council's development of a participation strategy to comply with the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021. Under the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021, local authorities are required to develop and consult on a participation strategy that supports residents to become more involved in decision-making and to encourage more diversity in decision-makers. The Act places a duty on principal councils to encourage local citizens to participate in the process of decision-making and to prepare and publish a strategy that sets out how it proposes to do this. As part of this public engagement process, the Council is also required to make and publish a petition scheme, setting out how public petitions can be submitted and how the Council will respond. The Act encourages local authorities to adopt strategies with arrangements that suit their own circumstances and are designed around the needs of those who use their services. Democratic Services Committee has been integral in the development and shaping of the strategy to produce this final version, and I'd like to thank all of the members of that committee for their contribution to that. Chair. Consultation with Newport residents indicates that residents are interested in the decisions that the Council makes and would welcome having more of a voice as part of this decision-making process. If approved by the Council, the strategy will be published in English and Welsh on the Council's website by the 31st of May 2022. At this stage, Chair, I really would like to reiterate the importance of involving our citizens in decision-making and that participation is so important in all aspects of service planning, policy and review. Engagement for us needs to be an active process that really does support our residents to influence and shape the future of Newport. This strategy is a great step further in encouraging and developing our engagement and participation so that the voices of our communities can be heard. Chair, I move that Council approves the public participation strategy and the petition scheme for adoption and publication.
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second.
Right, thank you, Councillor Evans. For all those in favour, please show. Are there any against? No, no. Right, the motion is carried and the participation strategy and multi-location meetings is duly approved and adopted. Leader, you might as well stand on your feet, haven't you, really? You're not right, Leader, to introduce the report of pay and reward statement.
Thank you, Chair. The Council's pay and reward policy for the workforce is an annual report that requires adoption by Council. This policy sets out the internal mechanisms for remunerating Council officers and provides any changes since the last adoption. The policy was last approved in March 2021, and there are no proposed changes to it this year. However, there are some minor legislative updates as a result of the Local Government and Elections Bill, which require removal of reference to the head of paid service and the replacement of the term salary with remuneration. I can confirm that these legislative updates have been included in this year's policy. I would also like to highlight the annual gender pay gap that is published on the Council's website. I'm pleased to report that the mean pay gap has decreased for a third year to 1.49% from last year's reported 1.92%, whilst the median pay gap is currently 2%. Our gender pay gap continues to compare favourably with other councils across Wales and the UK average of 15.4%. But we will maintain efforts to eliminate the pay gap between men and women employed by the Council. This concludes this year's annual update.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder to the report?
Thank you, Chair. Second.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Would all those in favour please show? Are there any against? No abstentions, was there then? The motion is carried and the pay and reward statement is duly approved. That concludes the formal part of the AGM, and we will now adjourn and reconvene shortly for the inauguration of the Mayor for the municipal year 22-23. Thank you very much. Good evening, councillors and guests. Welcome to the Mayor Making ceremony. Please be seated. Sorry. Okay, it won't move. It's all right, don't worry. We'll sort it out. Before we start the Mayor Making ceremony, as we have guests joining us, can I remind everyone that today's event is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by the way of the Council's internet site, as noted on the front of today's agenda. I am pleased to announce that Councillor Martin Kelly was formally nominated as the Mayor of Newport for the municipal year 2022-2023 at the Council meeting held on the 25th of January 2022. His appointment was duly carried at that meeting, and therefore there is no requirement for any further ratification of that decision. However, before we proceed to the formal Mayor Making ceremony, can I invite the Leader and the Leader of the Opposition to say a few words of introduction. Leader.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I move that the Council elects Councillor Martin Calloway to serve as the Mayor of the City for the forthcoming year. Councillor Calloway has been a councillor for 21 years in total, as a councillor representing the Lanwern ward. During this time, he sat on a number of committees at Newport City Council, including Planning and Licensing and the Fairness Commission, and is Chair of Governors both at Martin Primary School and Newport's newest primary school, Glanlyn. Martin, I have every confidence that you will approach your new role with enthusiasm. May I wish you and Helen my very best wishes for a successful and enjoyable term of office. Chair, I formally move the election of Councillor Martin Calloway.
Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. I am delighted to also congratulate my colleague and friend who will serve as Mayor of Newport for the coming year. I know you will represent the city with great dignity. It's been my pleasure to work alongside you for many years, and I know all your colleagues and friends are hugely proud to see you taking on the role of first citizen, following a tradition that dates back hundreds of years in Newport. Serving as Deputy Mayor last year would have given you an insight into the work of the Mayor. You've already had a busy life as the only councillor serving your ward with a full-time job and your voluntary endeavours, so you're well prepared to take on this new challenge. Martin used to enjoy running and apparently took part in the first Cardiff Half Marathon. The office of Mayor requires a different type of stamina and dedication, but I am confident you'll perform well on this new challenge. For those of you who don't know Martin, he is a catering manager. In fact, we both worked for the same company many years ago, so please make sure you resist the temptation to help clear the tables when you're attending functions or offer any help in the kitchen. Seriously, from personal experience, I know you will thoroughly enjoy your year in office together with Helen by your side. You'll attend many special occasions and meet many wonderful people. You'll have lots of support from your family, as well as your friends and all of us on the council. So please accept our very best wishes to you and Helen for a happy and successful year as Mayor, and I formally second it.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. We will now commence the Mayor Making ceremony. Can I please ask the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Calloway, to come to the front of the chair?
Mayor will now make his declaration of acceptance of office. Please repeat after me. I, Martin Francis Kellaway,
I, Martin Francis Kellaway,
having been elected
to
the office of Mayor
the office of Mayor
for the City of Newport,
for the City of Newport,
hereby declare
that
I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. The Mayor will now take the oath of allegiance and then the official oath. Mr. Mayor, please take the Bible in your right hand and repeat after me. I, Martin Francis Kellaway, do swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. Now, Mr. Mayor, the official oath. Please repeat after me. I, Martin Francis Kellaway, do swear by Almighty God that I will well and truly serve Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in the office of Mayor of the City of Newport.
I now call upon the retiring Deputy Mayoress to come to the front of the chair. I now call on a vote of thanks to David Williams. You may remember David Williams served as Mayor for the previous term with his wife Ruth. He's unable to be here today, but all I need to do is thank David for his contributions to the city. Thank you. I now call on the leader to formally second the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was an absolute delight to work alongside David over the past 12 months. I've attended a number of functions with David and Ruth, and I can always say that it was a pleasure to spend time with David. He brought a humour and a real joy to the events we attended, particularly, and I have to emphasise this, for
Thank you, Leader. Will all those in favour of the vote of thanks please vote? I declare the vote of thanks to be carried unanimously. The next item is to appoint a Deputy Mayor. I am very pleased to advise Council that Councillor John Jones will act as my Deputy for the ensuing year. I now call upon Councillor John Jones to come to the front of the chair.
The Deputy Mayor will now make the declaration of acceptance of office. Please repeat after me. I, John Douglas Wynne-Jones, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor for the City of Newport, hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. Deputy Mayor.
I now call upon Mrs. Maria Elizabeth Jones to come to the front of the chair. Before we complete today's ceremony, can I now call upon former Councillor Tom Suller and his wife Pat to come to the front of the chair. As you all know, as you all will be aware, Tom was Mayor of Newport in 2020 and 2021 when the COVID restrictions meant that he was unable to formally be presented with his medallion. Therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to offer Tom and Pat a big thank you for their service to the city and to present Tom and Pat with their mayoral medallions. Tom? Thank you, everybody. Before I announce what the charities for the coming year will be, can I just thank everybody for their kind wishes? That's members, that's former councillors, that's current councillors. And welcome on behalf of the Mayor's Office, all new and returning councillors. It's a really difficult job, and the new ones will find that out pretty quickly, I think. But what I would say is having this role is I sometimes wonder over the last couple of months is whether I am worthy of it. And the reason that is, and that motivates me to do better for the city of Newport. And I think if we all took a little bit of that, that would be a great honour. It's a heartfelt honour and a privilege to take up the role of Mayor of Newport. And again, thank you all for your kind wishes and words from the Leader of the Council, and Matthew Evans, and from colleagues. Be assured, both myself and Helen will work as hard as we can for all parts of this wonderful city and its residents. Just finally, I wish to announce the two charities for this coming year. There are two. The first is Elliot's Endeavour, and if I can just read out some notes from Elliot's mum. Elliot is like any other happy 4-year-old boy. He loves his Marvel characters. He enjoys running around, playing with his friends and bustling a few dance moves when the moment takes him. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but Elliot suffers from a rare genetic condition called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a muscle-wasting disease which primarily affects boys. It's a cruel condition that will rob Elliot of the ability to walk by the time he is 10. By the time Elliot is in his late teens, he will be paralysed from the neck down, and eventually the muscles around his heart and lungs will cease to function. Life expectancy is in his early 20s. Duchenne is 100% fatal, and there is currently no cure or effective treatments available. Scientists around the world are working hard to change this, but like most rare conditions, clinical research is underfunded and under-resourced. Treatments can take years, sometimes even decades, to get approved and become commercially accessible to those living with the disease. Time Elliot and others like him just don't have. Clinical research is largely dependent on charity donations, and it costs roughly £10,000 for one child to partake in a clinical trial for 1 year. Elliot's Endeavours was set up to raise money to go towards clinical research with a hope to advance science and get these treatments widely available as soon as possible. Elliot's Endeavours support a national charity called Duchenne UK, which was set up by 2 mothers of Duchenne boys, with the aim to open up as many spaces for clinical trials as possible. Not only does this help advance science, but given that there is no effective treatment available to tackle the disease, clinical trials are the only avenue for boys to access any form of treatment. All money raised through Elliot's Endeavours will go back into clinical research so we can give this generation of boys the best chance of life. Thank you. That's the first one. And I know Elliot's mum is about here today. Let me kick the charity off for that. Thank you. First one. I sent an email around for gifts and everything, and thank you so much for everything that was kick-started that particular charity. We're going to have a little bit of a raffle later on, and thank you again. But just for new councillors in particular, part of the role of mayor is to raise some funds and everything else that goes with it. So if you want the mayor to attend a function, if you have any cause that you think we can support with, please shout, please email. We'll be there to support that. Okay. The other one is a little bit personal to me, I suppose. I've been in catering for 46 years of some description. And I know firsthand the impact of long shifts, split shifts, low and minimum wages, and the highly stressful environments, having started my working life in busy kitchens as a kitchen porter in Butlins and Barry Island. Hospitality staff have been hit hard by the pandemic, which has only been compounded the challenges that they face. The Burn Chef was set up with the sole intention of eradicating mental health within the hospitality industry, and was set up by someone who had his own mental health challenges. Committed to making hospitality profession healthier and more sustainable by focusing on people's well-being and mental health. So again, I hope you'll support me and the charity over the coming 12 months. And we have a representative from the Burn Chef across there. So that's the two charities. That concludes the business for today. And please gather downstairs, have a little drink and a sandwich, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.